evening, everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire hashtag After Dark. Don't look at Mo's window. Champions League show. We are here to break down Wednesday's 7-game Champions League slate. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened today. Ryan is still on his ayahuasca retreat in the deserts of Arizona, trying to figure out how to find the best plays. Mo rejoins us. I thought we gave some pretty fire advice, Mo. And it's a big day for you because you advanced some high-stakes NFL best ball teams, Mo. How many people get to say that they got to dunk, in a way, on stool president David Portnoy? Maybe we can go viral here if we call it Barstool, Mo. But are you enjoying your best ball advance day?
Yeah, it's like 14 weeks in, you kind of just nervously bite your nails each week as you hope your plays work out the way that you hope that they would. So yeah, I think the results have been pretty good. This whole Portnoy thing, I think, is just funny. I'm a ancillary second storyline to the wonderful beef between Herzig and Portnoy. So that's been fun to see. What wasn't fun to see, Jack, was how even though I nailed all the best plays, I flopped in my selection of what the best plays were. As you might recall from yesterday, I was really high on Guerrero. You were less high, and you tried to tell me, but I just wanted to push through. And he hurt me. He finally got involved. I want to say around the 30-minute mark until the 60-minute mark, and then he was yanked, and I just didn't see it coming. He was. I can understand it, but there's so many older folks on the team. Like Mueller played 51 minutes on the weekend. I thought he would get yanked earlier, and he played the whole game, almost the whole game. So yeah, my bets didn't work out, but yours look like they did.
Yeah, let's break down how it went. I had a really good day, Mo. It's been a while. I've been struggling a little bit. I think I did something slightly suboptimal, Mo, but it paid off. I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. In cash games, I played Leroy Sané, and then a lot of people opted to spend down at second forward, someone like Trincauer, Ziolis, who Mo and I mentioned on the other day. I opted to pay for Thomas Muller. I played Musiala, Kimmich, and Olise. You could have also played Kang in Lee. He would have been, he's in the same pricing ballpark and in a similar good spot. I played Hakimi. Our friend Shu said that, Hakimi, he's been priced at like 9K in Interleague, which is the bat signal that he's an absolute alpha. So we played him and he crushed 2 assists and I think, 16-point floor on top of that. So just a really good performance from Achraf Hakimi. And then the curiosity I was considering, Mo, I could not afford Grimaldo if I played Mueller, and I decided Grimaldo was optional, which is a suicidal take. And he scored 14 floor points. I think it was wrong, but I thought I could get 7 or 8 from Amar Didic. I got 5.5, and I got the clean sheet bonus from Kovar, and Riznik wasn't able to save anything. So I think it was slightly suboptimal, Mo, but I still like the team, and I played it in some single entry things. So it was a good day overall. What do you think about fading Grimaldo in this spot for Thomas Mueller, Mo?
Yeah, I think it was fine. I mean, Mueller delivered the output that you would expect, which is not much floor. Although for a while there, he just decided to go out to the wing and just cross nonstop. It says only 3, but it felt like he was just doing a lot more. And then he got the goal, which gave you kind of the best case scenario for him. I thought it was fine. He was in the best spot of the slate. Musiala and Olise hogged all the points for Bayern this slate, but Mueller found a way to get involved. And I think it was off a perfect layoff for Musiala. So totally made sense to me. Grimaldo was I think a tough fade, but not an incorrect fade. I mean, he worked out for so many people. He didn't ultimately make, I don't think, the winning lineup. But for a while, I think he was in there for a few people. So if I was going to criticize anything, it would be Kovar. You got bailed out there. But I like the theory, and it worked out, and you need a little luck. I mean, the winning GPP lineups today all played Mukiele, who is usually like a 0 floor guy. So luck wins, big games, and it worked out here for you, in addition to good play.
Yeah. We have a friend of the show, Jackson. He's complaining about Ben Sheshko, who failed to do anything. I believe he called him a lamppost in the RotoWire Discord, rotowire.com/chat, where you can enjoy all of the pure, unfiltered tilt. Yeah, and I think like Lois Apenda could have had a hat trick, according to Lou in the Discord. And I had a couple of good lineups and GPPs that benefited from an already great Apenda performance. It might have taken me over the edge. Mo, nothing was more tilting in this slate than seeing Joshua Kimmich, a beautiful corner cross to a wide open Jamal Musiala, who, just crushes it in. It's called for a foul on the goalkeeper because Tell, with his hands behind his back, just touches the goalkeeper a little bit.
It's
and then he gets out of the way. It was ridiculous.
So absurd. It was the worst. There's like a 2-minute sequence in that game of just atrocious performance by the ref and by VAR. Like, first, he called off that goal that was indisputably a good goal. Then he gave away a PK for a foul that was never a PK. The shot had long gone. There was some minimal follow through that touched the player, but really did nothing else. It was really bad. And it was very tilting because that's why you play Kimmich, right? You play Kimmich. Obviously, back in the day, he used to give you like a bailout goal from distance. He plays so much deeper now, but he still has the primary role on sets, and he delivered. So that was annoying. Commiserations to Jackson on the Sesko play. I mean, we always mention him because he's Ryan's favorite, but it's the classic story for Sesko. He really takes like these 35-yard bangers and looks incredible doing it, but otherwise can have these games where he just does absolutely nothing. Question I kind of have is should we have seen the Openda game coming to a higher degree? I mean, I mentioned him as a name to definitely consider. He's an absolute baller, but I just wonder if it was man, should I have played more? I didn't play many lineups, and he didn't make the cut for that reason, but might be something to think about next time.
I played him 2 of 10. I kind of, I didn't want to play a bunch of Ciolis lineups and a bunch of Trincao lineups. And the Openda ones kind of worked out the way that I was building teams
Nice.
because he was right at the sweet spot where I could pay up at a defender or I could do the D-dish and get up at goalkeeper. So because he was priced nicely in that range, I was able to try out a couple different constructions. Yeah, a really good play, but I didn't really expect that Leipzig-Aston Villa match to be so back in the fourth. But when you have the greatest substitute of all time, John Durandinho, just crushing goals and that, increasing the pace of play in that one, just kind of a crazy game overall. But yeah, maybe a bit higher on Openda, but I don't know. We can't get all these things completely spot on, though.
Yeah, just like Kevin. I mean, I shouted out Kevin. Should have known the
First
goal
goal of
was
the
coming.
slate. Oh, that was too funny. I see this diminutive winger score a goal, and then I'm like, that better be Kevin. And it absolutely was. So the RotoWire UCL legend Kevin lives on. Mo, let's get talking about this Wednesday slate. This one's a lot different because there's so many options and a lot of ways to build lineups, in my opinion, and a lot of spots that are worth attacking. The 2 best spots per our implied goal odds are going to be AC Milan at home to Red Star Belgrade. They have a 2.31 implied goal total. And then VfB Stuttgart, they have a 2.41 implied goal total at home to Young Boys. So 2 teams, Mo, that have really high goal totals and really high win odds. We're going to want to build our lineups with their players in mind. And Mo, I think 2 of the most premium players are going to be their defenders, Maxi Mittelstadt and Teo Hernandez. We have no Christian Pulisic, who's going to be out with an injury. Anything kind of jump off the page for you in these 2 teams? I didn't see any clear misprices.
Yeah, this is going to be the opposite of the slate we had today. It's a really fun slate where I think you should feel comfortable going in a bunch of different directions. I actually think, contrarian take, the 2 highest favored teams, Milan and Stuttgart, are in the best position to fail. I think Milan lost Pulisic over the weekend. They're going to replace him with Loftus-Cheek. They're already a little injured. They've been playing Chukwueze, and I love Chuck when he was like a 4K play that scored a goal for us last year, but he hasn't been that great. So it's really a okay team, but a team that is not one that initially I expect to dominate. And then Stuttgart just got like destroyed, I think, last game out versus some team, I want to say in Eastern Europe. It was either Red Star or someone else. They lost like 3-1, and they just looked no good. And so, seeing the pricing they have on these guys, 10K for Enzo, 8.3 for Demirovic, you can go there. It might work out. It will be probably not the direction that I have a lot of interest in. So that could be, the curse of the tout. It could be that they actually live up to their projections and smash. But I also think there's a very good chance they could miss.
Yeah, I mean, these teams can structurally fail. When you're dealing with Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's a fine player, but he's your attacking midfielder, you're really going to lose a lot in your attack overall. I think I agree with that take. I was maybe thinking the same thing with Stuttgart because they really disappointed in the last Champions League slate. But Milan, I wasn't thinking as much. But, I think it was Red Star, Jackson's pointed out in the chat. So they have a little bit of juice. So it's not exactly a complete pushed-over situation. But, Mo, when we say this, we said the same thing about Shakhtar. Early goal, a little plucky, and then the whole thing falls off, with 15 minutes left. So, sometimes the breakthrough goals happen a little bit late. So maybe that makes minutes a bit more important. The other four, I think 3 teams that are clear favorites. We have Arsenal at home to Monaco with a 2.2 implied goal total. We have Feyenoord at home to Sparta Prague, who Sparta Prague are without a RotoWire favorite, Lucas Herschlin. He's going to be injured, but Feyenoord are the big favorites anyways, a 2.16 implied goal total. And a slightly worse matchup, but Benfica are home to Bologna, and they have a 1.93 implied goal total. Mo, you not a huge fan of the other 2 games, so I'm guessing that one of these 3 matches stands out to you. What seems best to you?
Yeah, so I think these 3 are all a lot more interesting. Monaco's a good team, but Arsenal have been in good form. They are kind of back to winning ways. Their team is mostly fit. I know there's a question about Timber. So for the most part, I think aside from Saka's salary of 10.5, you have a lot of guys who are going to be interesting and easy to fit. Declan Rice is just 6.1. Odegaard is 5.6. You can work with that. Feyenoord is also going to be interesting. They're not cheap, but again, a lot of interesting plays. Igor Paixão, I'm going to hope that I said that right, is around 7.5, and we'll have a share of sets, and we'll also just be taking shots all over. Bomb will undoubtedly frustrate us again for another slate by taking some portion of sets, but nowhere near the number of sets we want. But at 5.1, it's interesting. And then probably the one I'm most interested in right now is going to be Benfica, because Benfica's pricing is probably the most favorable we've seen in a long time. Actor Koglu is down from the 10K and 9K range to a very doable 6.3. Di Maria is at a 7.8. Those are numbers you can work with. And Pavlidis, who I don't think I've ever played, is only 5.7. So candidly, I haven't seen Bologna play. I don't know how their defensive record is. The defender that I absolutely hate to play, Lyko Giannis, is out. So I don't have to stress about that. But I think I'm going to have a lot of interest in that match.
Yeah, good stuff all around, Mo. I agree. There's a lot of slightly too cheap prices. Maybe Feyenoord doesn't have like a misprice, but when all of your good forwards are in the 7K range, that's a great spot to attack, especially when the matchup is really good. You can see a lot of players getting there. And then Mo, maybe for watching TV, if you're watching the Golazo program, Barcelona are going to be on the road to Borussia Dortmund. That game has a really high implied goal total. So Dortmund, they're slight underdogs, but they have a 1.6 implied goal total. So you can consider their pieces, and a couple of them are cheap. Barcelona assets are going to be a little bit expensive, but they have a very affordable Lamine Yamal, and I think he'll be a popular option. And then the other game, which is kind of a head scratcher about what we do with this, Manchester City are slight favorites on the road at Juventus, and Juventus is never really a good floor matchup for a team when things are going well for you. And City are just like, it's just so iffy, and some of their prices are expensive, but we have like 8.8K Kevin De Bruyne over there, and even like 4.5K Toon Coop Miners. I don't want to say that too loud, Mo, but all the Juventus guys are cheap, and we've seen that City have been conceding a bit more floor than what we've been used to for the past, 3 years of our lives playing this game. Anything strike you in those last two matchups, Mo?
Yeah, I think this is like we're in uncharted territory. It's been years since we've seen Man City this low on the win percentage kind of odds level. And so KDB absolutely at 8.2 is someone who is going to be very hard to resist. I think the shout that you had for Coop Miners is very good as well. That implied goal total is exceptionally low, and I actually don't disagree with it. But I think that at least those two players and potentially more are going to be really interesting. And then in Barcelona, you have kind of similar issues where Yamal is still priced at just a 6.9. And we all know he can create anything in any matchup. And Dortmund isn't that difficult of a defense. It seems like, in a lot of slates, they let you down and they do concede 1 or 2 goals. So both of them are going to be interesting, I think, like you said.
Yeah, I think the Dortmund's defense is a bit in shambles. I know Sula is out, and they're starting, kind of dusty Emre Can. He's had a great career, but he's a little bit older now. Schlotterbeck's a good defender, but not their best defense that they're putting out there. It's going to be a difficult road matchup, against the yellow wall, but I think Barcelona should have some opportunities to create some floor.
I think the last time we bashed Emre Can, he went and not only I don't think he's a defender, so it doesn't matter that he kept a clean sheet, but I think he took a PK on top of it.
Yeah, he's the penalty taker somehow. It's a dark, dark world that we live in. Matthew's joining us once Kevin scored. I knew it was going to be a bad day today. Oh, we knew it was going to be a good day when Kevin graced us with his goal scoring.
I was so excited. I was like, Riznik, here we go. And then just completely did not work out.
Man, that Olise last goal where he just walked through him. It's like when I started playing FIFA and it was rookie mode and I was like, oh man, this game's easy. It was brutal. Maybe we're seeing why Bayern were such huge favorites in that spot.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into talking nuts and bolts of actually building some teams, Mo. I think we gave a good tour of the games and there's a lot to be excited about overall. Mo, the way this slate's playing out, I think you get to spend up for one premium piece. And there are a couple of premium pieces worth considering, at least at the forward position. We have Rafinha at 10,700. That's getting a little bit rich. In Barcelona, there was some funny business over the weekend with set pieces, though Rafinha was subbed off early. Perhaps that played a role. Lewandowski is really expensive. We probably don't want to play someone so goal dependent in cash that's that expensive. And Bukayo Saka is 10,500. Those are spend up options that are worth considering. There's also spend up options in the midfield. And I don't know, Mo, is there some value that's tempting that makes you think, I don't have to pay up for a Saka. I don't have to pay up for Rafinha, though they are good plays.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I'm going to go back to the Benfica folks. I don't remember which one of them is. Yeah, so it looks like they're all, at least Akçakoglu and I think maybe Di Maria as well, are designated as forwards. No, Di Maria is not. So at least
Di Maria mid only.
Yeah, Akçakoglu is. And Pavlidis if you want to go there. But yeah, I think I haven't seen how it all breaks down, but I imagine it's going to be a one spend up, one spend down. I don't think you're going to be able to jam multiple high spenders there. So Akçakoglu, I think, is a good shout. You can keep Yamal in the pool. Igor is not cheap, but he's someone to consider as well. I think these are all going to be guys that I have some interest in at forward. But but I don't know that there's any real major spend downs. Jack, did you see any? Is Concheshao cheap on this slate?
Yeah, Chico Conceição is 5,100, so you can consider him at home to City, but I don't know if I want to take that needless a risk in cash, especially when we'll talk about the midfield value options.
Yeah.
I mean, Mo, we just build a lineup backstage. You don't actually have to spend up at a forward.
Right.
It seems advisable, but like if you showed up and you took a head to head of mine and you end up playing Karem and then you ended up playing like a Pai Chow or a Yamal, I think that would be fine because you'd be able to play three good midfielders at the same time, maybe play like a Kevin De Bruyne or something. So I think there is something to say about being balanced. I just don't see where the punts are at forward, though. Like you have Conceição, maybe Kittens, our man Jamie Gittens, who's been in really good form, one of the hot transfer names that you'll hear about probably next summer for Dortmund. But yeah, no clear punt options really stood out to me. I mean, Rafael Leao is 9,500. That's a tournament play, Mo, and I kind of hate Rafael Leao, but that's a Euros beef that maybe I should just lay that
I feel like his price always gets like a 2K bump just because of the name value, while ignoring the fact that he's a winger who will get subbed all the time early. Having said that, he will now score a brace tomorrow, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah, it just as I'm glossing over it, it just doesn't seem that interesting at forward. I mean, just like you kind of the whole hum good play of Bukayo Saka and Rafinha, but you don't feel like you have to at that price. It's going to be a headache trying to work out all of the combinations. Maybe we'll see some weird stuff in the starting lineups. Martinelli 6,800, which I guess is interesting as well for tournaments. Mo, do you have any final tournament shouts that you want to throw in there at the forward position?
I started this by kind of poo-pooing the idea of playing guys on Milan or Stuttgart, but Morata is 8.1. Presumably the goal scoring odds are going to be high. And Demirovic, wow, that's really high for him, 8.3. So, if you want to be contrary to me, I'm not sure you're going to be contrary to the field, but if you want to be contrary to me and you go there, it's not an exorbitant price tag. You can be paid off pretty easily with a goal and assist or 2 goals or whatnot. And then, of course, Pavlidis is right there at 5.7, who, doesn't need much. It's really just going to need to be a goal or whatever. I doubt he's had one. There you go. And he would have definitely paid off 5.7 with 16.7 points. So it's not cheap. It's not the Kevin play of the slate, but it does give you an option to go a little different.
Yeah, sadly, it doesn't seem like there's any Kevins this slate, but maybe we'll be treated once lineups go out. Let's get into the midfield position, Mo. You can spend up at the midfield, and I guess the two options, Kevin De Bruyne, he's only 8,800. He looks back and he's flooring as usual. So maybe if you think it's a good spot, he's going to be on most of the set pieces. So I think at least it depends. Sometimes screwy things happens, like if Phil Foden gets back into the team. So it's worth being a little bit careful before you start going and jamming Kevin De Bruyne into all of your lineups. Mo, you poo-pooed Enzo Malo. I don't think he really justifies a 10K price tag, but undoubtedly when you have a set-piece role in such a high total matchup, he's someone worth considering. But Mo, the Arsenal midfielders are really underpriced. You have $6,100 Declan Rice and $5,600 Martin Odegaard. You can just do the method from the slate today and just click the 2 underpriced midfielders and start to build around that. Tough to say that's a bad strategy. And Mo, I'm sorry for continuing to talk, but something's tilting me. I'm seeing on social media, right? Arsenal get a 1-1 draw. I'm not about to cape up for Arsenal. I don't like them. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan, but everyone's calling them like a set piece merchant team. And they're using that in a derogatory way. And obviously you need to score goals in open play, but everything in the analytics most suggests that set piece play is the one spot where you can be really plus EV and just gain free goals. So it's not a derogatory thing if you dominate on set pieces. It just means you're really good. So I don't know. I'm not going to be hearing any of that. Maybe you get a Declan Rice assist because of it. Mo, what do you think about midfield?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and I fully agree with that point. I mean, I wish Spurs were any good at set pieces, either defending them or scoring them. I would take either side, but our coach doesn't think they're worth any time. So you see the results of that on the pitch. Um, yeah, no, I think it's going to be really tempting. The one cautionary note that's always worth it is Odegaard at 5.6, just beautiful. He's going to get involved in the attack, very live for a goal or an assist. Declan Rice, especially when Odegaard is in the game, is not as involved in the. That's funny. I just saw that comment. Declan Rice is not going to be as involved in the offense, aside from a little bit of sets, a couple shots, and so on. And so it's a little bit of a riskier play. It's not the Olise of today. It's arguably the Kimmich of today. And so you gotta make kind of some tough decisions there. But other places, we started by critiquing the idea of Loftus-Cheek playing at attacking midfield. I mean, 3.7, that is cheap. He's in a great matchup. Loftus-Cheek definitely has it in his tool bag to score goals, to make assists. He's a talented player. We forget his pedigree, but he can do it all. And so that's going to be really interesting. I think, the Benfica players that we flagged, Di Maria isn't his old self, but he's going to be good. Kokchu, who has been kind of too expensive to play for a while, is going to be on a lot of sets for Benfica, and he's going to also have a good role in the attack. And then, of course, Coop Miners, who you mentioned. So lots of really interesting options, lots of very playable options, I think, in both cash and tournaments. I don't really know which way I lean right now, other than at least one Arsenal guy. I want exposure to some Arsenal. And it's going to be really hard for me to say no to that Loftus-Cheek price tag if he plays where we think he's playing.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, sometimes these central attacking midfielders, they're not really offering that much, but when you're so cheap, you're just so live to be involved in assists. So if you're playing, I know, Mo, you play a lot of like small field tournaments, these King of the Pitch qualifiers. That's a place where you can really make a difference, and you get a lot of extra salary, and there's stuff to spend for on this slate. So I approve of that idea, though. I think it takes quite the constitution, I'll say, to use a more sophisticated word than what I was thinking, to spend down when there are so many good options. I think I like Di Maria and playing one of the Arsenal guys. I mean, I was just looking at Kevin De Bruyne's game logs, and they weren't particularly impressive. He played 86 minutes, but only had 9 floor points against Crystal Palace. Most of that coming off of corners. So 6 corners and 8 crosses. Maybe not every single one of those corners was a cross, but it just makes me feel a little bit weary, though I don't want to extrapolate too heavily in a one game sample overall. Yeah, for me, Mo, it's just going to be a headache to just choose which one. And a cheap name that I like, and please don't boo me out of the room, but I'm a big Marcel Sabitzer guy, and I think this is from the Euros. He really hasn't been offering it, but Julian Brandt is probably not available for Dortmund. That puts Sabitzer into a more attacking role. If we like that matchup to be a little bit more back and forth, Mo, I think you can do worse than punting Marcel Sabitzer, especially if you're comparing him to Loftus-Cheek. Just not as good a matchup.
Yeah, I just saw the salary, 3.6. I mean, he's usually a 5'9", 6'5" guy. So that's interesting. As you admit, the game logs have been disappointing for quite a while. But if Mukiele can get there today, why can't Sabitzer? So I definitely think it's a very viable play.
And then one more name, Mo, that I like is Philip Ugrinik on Young Boys. Now, why are we targeting an underdog here? But Stuttgart did get lit up in Serbia in the previous one. It's going to be a home game for them. But Ugrinik is a good player. He has some set pieces and decent game logs, and it's not like Young Boys are ever really respected by the bookmakers. So at 5,500, I think he's actually a fine play Jackson saying locking in Sabitzer and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Make sure you leave 10K on the table too, Jackson. I don't know, just a cheap midfielder if you need it at 5,500. I don't mind him in tournaments, especially if you maybe want to play a couple of Stuttgart pieces. That's one place where I think he's a good play, and it might be appropriate to maybe make a game stack there. I'm not always trying to do bringbacks on Champions League mode, but I think it might make sense.
Yeah, I think it was the last play where Stuttgart was playing in the early window, and I was playing against somebody who played Elsnick from Salzburg, and I was like, Elsnick, man, that's such a bad play. And then I think he had like goal and assist, 2 assists. Sorry, he had 2 assists in an absolute beatdown of Stuttgart. So look, Champions League it's where pretty much all teams have a minimal level of quality. You saw it today with Shakhtar against Bayern, how Sudakov got there, Kevin got there. Yeah, you don't always want to go too heavily contrarian, but with someone like a Grinek who has set piece role, will contribute in attack, is a likely source of goals, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I think in cash, I'm probably going to be playing Di Maria and then one of the Arsenal mids. What I do with utility spots is there's an abundance of options, and maybe we'll just have to wait for lineups to go before we have too much conviction. Mo, any midfielders you wanted to get off your chest before we move on to defender?
No. I think we've mentioned them either in the early preview or later. I haven't seen how Actor Koglu has done recently since his hot spell at the start of the season. So if he's not banging goals in nonstop like he was, I might have less interest. But if he's kept it up, I think, he might be somebody who I even am more interested in than Di Maria. Di Maria obviously provides you the much more reliable floor. But man, in terms of an electric, attacking winger, Kareem is right up there with the best. And so that's going to be really tempting.
I agree with that, Mo. Looking at defender, 2 names hopped off the page immediately as good plays. They're in the quote-unquote best matchups. I'm saying quotes because Mo is a little skeptical. But at these prices, I think I'm kind of in on it. Teo Hernandez at 6,100. He'll have a role on set pieces. I think Tijani Reinders is going to take the other, or Reinders, sorry. Barrow is going to yell at me for that. I think he's going to take the other corners, but it should at least be like a split role for Hernandez. So he's kind of too cheap at 6,100. And then I also do want to play Maxi Mittelstadt, although I didn't open up his game logs. I'm just assuming that Maxi Mittelstadt is just putting up 20-point floors regularly in the Bundesliga. He's also a good play. What was that your impression, or do you maybe see some fragility in what are going to be too popular and expensive defenders?
I think Theo Hernandez, like you said, is a smash. I mean, it feels like they are reluctant to ever make his role too big, but with Pulisic out in a favorable matchup, I think he's gonna get there. Question is just how high will he get? Mittelstadt, interesting to me is that we've like swapped positions for a long time. Mittelstadt was like 2,900, then 4,100, and I'm pretty sure you were like, it's fine. I understand he has the upside, but he's not going to get there, and he did. And now it's 6.4 without full sets. I think he's splitting with Milo, and he splits with a few of these other folks as well. Furic occasionally takes some. What's his name? Stiller, I think, has took some as well. Yeah, he's up there as well. So he has a leading role on them, but he's certainly not dominating them by any means. I am skeptical that I end up there. Where I go elsewhere, I gotta say, I don't have many leading candidates at the moment. Timbers 3.3, but he's an injury risk. The Benfica fullbacks. What is Carreras' price here? Let's see.
Carreras, I believe he's at 3.6K. He's on my list.
Beautiful, right? So, a lot of these guys Boz 5.5, which honestly isn't terrible either. A lot of these guys I think are going to be a lot more tempting to me than 6.4 Mittelstadt. I think he'll cross, he'll be involved in the attack, but he doesn't have the profile, at least from what I've seen, of somebody who's absolutely going to smash in a matchup. And especially because I have Guerrero PTSD, of a player with a profile very similar to Mittelstadt, where he can get involved, but that won't necessarily do it. I think I'll be going off of him.
Yeah, it makes some good tournament play, but there's a really wide range of outcomes. I think I'd probably spend down. I mean, you see our boy Emerson Royale, Tottenham Hotspur legend. Him or David Calabria, they could be reasonable options, but they're not. I mean, Mittelstadt's a better option than them, so it's not like they're a definite guarantee to get there. I saw that Joško Gvardiol is 4,800. That might be vaguely interesting. Maybe he shoots and creates some chances. But yeah, otherwise, I think you might be looking to spend down. I was reading that Arsenal might be forced to start a youth player at right back. So like these Nichols or Jack Robinson, like really cheap guys. That might be something that you could do. Carrera seems like the safer option. Young Boys has some fullbacks as well that are cheap. And then Feyenoord have Newcoop, who's 3,300. Well, I was hoping that all these fullbacks that I mentioned would be a little bit more attacking, but you're sort of seeing a lot of the Amar Didic, like maybe 6 or 8 points. Maybe that's enough in this slate, though, if Maxi Mittelstadt doesn't get there. And then you can just spend the salary elsewhere on some guys with some goal upside.
This is probably the portion where we miss Ryan the most, because Ryan for 2 slates in a row, I think, has been like the fullback whisperer. He first touted Jules Koundé, and he had like 3 assists. And then he was like, no, the next game isn't a Koundé game. And he had like, a pretty average game. And we were like, okay, what game is it? What slate is it? And he's like, it's a Ben Sebaini slate. And I'm like, how do you know on earth that it's
He scores a header, like ridiculous.
It's like, what gives you that sense? And he nailed it. I mean, he had the play. And so, I think I'll have interest in both of those guys, but I certainly don't see, any reason why they're particularly hot for this slate. But again, Koundé 3.7, Carreras 3.6. In that range, unless something really jumps out to me between now and the slate, it's going to be hard to say this or that guy is a much better play than the other guys. I think you have a lot of viable plays in that 3.3 to 3.7 range.
Yeah, and I think maybe the case for playing Mittelstadt in cash is like, okay, yes, there's a wide range of outcomes, but there's so much value at midfield that like you can kind of get there easily, and you're kind of forcing luxury spend ups that you may or may not need. So I don't know. I'm a little bit. It just depends. Or maybe you can pay up a little bit more at midfield and still afford an expensive forward if you want to play De Bruyne. So there's so many good constructions. That's why it's kind of a fun slate, because a lot of ways to play are very wide open and a fairly wide player pool. I mean, do we miss anyone at defender, Mo? Oh, go ahead.
I just hope the rest of the field is as low on Saka as you, because I look at Monaco's defense and I see former West Ham, refugee Thilo Kehrer, and I see Mohamed Salisu, who is also an escapee from, I believe, Southampton. And I say, good players, but not anything that is going to trouble Bukayo Saka. And I like their fullbacks, Vanderson and I think it's Xiao and Enrique at left back are both very good. But in general, this is a team whose attack is much better than their defense. And I think it's going to live up to the billing of being a high-scoring game. I think, what was it projected for? 2.2 and 0.8. I might give Monaco a bit more credit, but I think for Arsenal, that's fair. And so, it's an expensive price, but if I can go, 10.5 Saka and a 3.7, RLC or a 3.7 fullback, instead of 2 decent, 6K, 7K plays, that's going to be really tempting.
Yeah, that's probably the right thing, Mo. You put a good case for it, maybe too good a case for those that listen to this program. But I mean, right now I am playing Yamal and Karem in my forward spots. They both could easily score 9. And then I'm crying, asking, how could this happen to me? I faded one of the best players in England who just dropped 25 points on me, and he only had an assist. So, yeah, Saka's a really good play here. You fairly admonished me, Mo, but I think it was a convincing case nonetheless. Let's talk about goalkeeper. We failed you all yesterday at goalkeeper. Riznik with a -2. We talked about how many saves he would go, and instead, like you saw the last Elise goal, Bayern literally tried to walk the goal into the net, and they succeeded. So good for Bayern. Cheap goalkeeper giveth, and cheap goalkeeper taketh. What are we thinking for our goalkeeper strategy here? I mean, do we think that, Arsenal or Milan or one of these other teams can shoot enough to make one of these guys pay off their price tag? Or are you just going to take a more nihilistic approach to things? What are you thinking at goalkeeper, Mo?
Jack, I'm on a goalkeeper cold streak. I first touted Pena for Barcelona. We know that was an epic flop at 5,900. And then with Riznik, the downside was low, but with so many goalkeepers getting there, it also hurt a lot on this slate. So I'm gonna let you start, and then I'm gonna see what I can jump in with after that.
I'm gonna lock in the $7,500 man himself, David Raya. He helped me bank my first big boy GPP, 6K. Arsenal are a team that allows some shots, but they have the best win odds. Why not spend 6K in David Raya, Mo? Who cares? I mean, it very well could happen. I mean, I just think Arsenal can allow some shots. You did just tout Monaco's attack, especially on lineups where I don't play Saka in tournaments. Because I think Saka is more likely to go off if there's a goal conceded. That's something I would consider. But I don't know. It's not exactly original to tout the 6K goalkeeper. So I'll let you follow up.
I really like the Raya play. I think the defense is super solid. Monaco can attack, but they are not, I don't know, like people who jump off the page as like prolific finishers. Breel and Bolo is not someone who you just think of as extremely clinical. He takes shots just like Akalush does, just like Ben Seguir does, just like Golovin does. All of these players are folks who like to shoot and are not exactly the most accurate. Even the ever frustrating Lamine Kamara, I think, takes a few shots as well from midfield. So I think it's a really good play. One play I think that will also be of interest to me is Wellenreuther for Feyenoord. You had mentioned that Harasleen is out. And so without him in the team, I think they are a lot worse. I know they've gotten some results without him, and they have some names that can kind of pick up the work in his absence. But I think it'll be really interesting to go to Feyenoord, and the clean sheet odds look good as well. And then this feels weird to shout, but if Ortega plays, like I feel like I get on every pod and I say, this is where they break the streak. They're going to be back to the city of old. But look, my theory is always that Ortega is a good goalkeeper. He has a track record of performing for City when they pick him over Ederson. And Juventus aren't that great. So he could actually absolutely hurt you. But you could also be in a position where he gets the W and some nice saves as well.
It's like the Arrested Development meet with Tobias Funke, which is, it didn't work for everyone else, but maybe it'll work for us, touting Ortega or Ederson on this program. Well, I did slot in Ederson in my lineup that I hastily built, but folks, trust me, I was going to change it up before walking into expensive road Ederson on a 7-game slate where I have options. I mean, well, City have struggled, so I'll just go to the other side. A cheap goalkeeper to Gregorio, 4,200 for Juventus. Has to be underpriced given that City are not like dominant favorites in this game, right? Like City are only 47% to win. Di Gregorio is 4,200. And that means that Juventus are 25%. How often do we see teams with a 25% chance to win have a goalkeeper that cheap? He's probably, in that range where DraftKings has kind of been underpricing the goalkeepers lately. That's probably a good name to play in cash. Who's got some save upside, but some legit win outs as well.
Yeah, you know what? You might be right. Maybe I'll back off my Ortega out before I get hurt by it.
The angry
I
mob.
might like that more. And then I don't know. I still feel like when I look at Bologna, I'm like, they haven't been good in Serie A for some time. The record this season is 5 wins, 7 draws, and 2 losses, which is good for 8th. It's not like inspiring a ton of confidence. And so, Benfica is like undefeated. They're still in really hot form. I might play Carreras, go for that double defender, goalkeeper, clean sheet equity. I feel great about none of these. I feel good about a lot of them. I'll say that.
Sounds good. Well, you just have to play multiple lineups in that case, Mo. It's been about 45 minutes. Thank you to Jackson, Mr. Info, who reminded us that there are indeed Kevins in the slate. Kevin De Bruyne. He is no Kevin of Shakhtar fame, in my opinion. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for listening. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribing is the best way to support the show. RotoWire.com/soccer trial for a 48-hour free trial. Shout out to Mo for joining us for 2 days. Always awesome to have his insights and his view on the game. Wish him luck for his best ball bags. And I wish you all luck in your tournaments that I am not in on DraftKings.com tomorrow, folks. So on behalf of myself and Mo, have a good one, everyone.